But at every moment, people rationalize anything that they do. And I promise it's not always to hurt you. The ulterior motivated individuals peeing in the pool, all this stuff's gonna blow headlines up like a 5-alarm chili bathroom visit. Neither have anything to do with you unless someone assumed you should have voted a certain way because you look a certain way. Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm back again with another one. I want to have a discussion very quickly here about what I believe to be 8 good rules for the Black community during Trump's second administration. So a lot of things are happening right now. We are officially 10 days in, and the new Trump administration is moving fast, bulldozing their way through everything, causing lots of upset, cries and smiles, firings, deportations, defundings, tariffs, bans, and countless other decisions are coming just as we speak right now. And there are a lot of concerned Black citizens. We got a lot of rumors, we got fake news, we got real news, we got misinformation, we got emotions all swirling around at the same time before anything tangible has even come out of Congress other than the Lincoln-Riley bill. And it's fair to have all these feelings for sure, right? Some are mad, some are happy, some just don't care. Nevertheless, we are here, and as citizens of this country, every problem is an opportunity, right? So we're going to look through 8 of my points of inspiration that I want everyone to take home or take with them today to consider for what we can do over the next 4 years. Okay, so let's get it started with number 8. I'm going to work backwards. First of all, do not throw people away. Listen, when I say don't throw people away, I'm talking about people you already know and had a good or working relationship with, from acquaintances up to blood family. If things were cool before the election and you find out that they voted for Trump, take a step back and check yourself before you pop off. There's so much more to this situation than their single vote. Throwing people away is not a constructive option, in my opinion. We need to know what led them to that decision if we have an opposing view. And if you feel that strongly about it, then you ought to have been and should be continuing to work very strongly to change the outcome for 2028, which means you need to keep people like that even closer to you than throwing them away. You need to get them on the same page as you. You need to understand these things that lead the onesies, twosies, or the great swaths of people who you thought might go left to go right. Because at the end of the day, life is made up of people who are just as random and unique as a roll of the dice, including your twins to your late great-grandmother. Listen, everybody's different, even if they're close to you. But at every moment, people rationalize anything that they do. And I promise it's not always to hurt you. So maybe they just thought they were going to be hurt, or that their interests would not be fulfilled if they seen someone else get into office, or maybe they seen something in this candidate that maybe your candidate could have done better for them. Whatever the case is, if you try to slide them underneath the rug and try to pretend they don't exist anymore because you feel some type of way, you won't ever really know. And not everyone has the same information as you, and it's questionable if either of you even have the right information this day and age, given how biased traditional media has been found to be and how algorithmically problematic social media has also been exposed as, showing you things that are going to incite more rage in you because that gets you to stay on the platform, and they just end up dividing the country's opinion on things. Deleting a contact, blocking someone, or acting like you don't know them anymore is going to be pretty petty to do this day and age, because you don't really know how all this came about unless you understand it. And then if you really understand it, you can go back to my video where I told you that you are not self-made, and you're going to understand even that person deciding to vote for somebody who you don't agree with is not a decision they took in a vacuum, and you can understand more how to influence and make an outcome that you want to see. Okay, so let's not behave like we're more hurt than we are motivated. Look into the situation before you jump to conclusions. Number 7, I want you to build, and we all should be building, safe, welcoming, edifying Black spaces right now. I cannot say enough about this. I have a lot of experience in this. When we don't have these things, or when we don't have a third space, it results in new levels of boredom, loneliness, feeling isolated, and lack of finding partners. Or partner finding opportunities. You lack in the ability to run across new people organically enough to find your person younger in age. So everywhere we go right now, we just see the same recipe of these type of social events that are rinsed and repeated with slightly different twists. A lot of them are kind of based around just loud music in a bar, and it always seems to cost many of us something for the financial benefit of a few. And we need to be around each other in edifying ways more than we think. We need each other like we need sunlight, but we've developed an increasingly socially indifferent culture, in part, in my opinion, because of essentially what has manifested as the new version of cliques and social groups and social exclusivity, and even ulterior motivated individuals peeing in the pool, and additionally terribly unfriendly, inconsiderate, callous conversations that are held with aloof, selfish individuals who seem to be motivated to come out and talk at you. Never mind the people who try to defend these toxic behaviors in our community because they're either benefiting from it or they're too dense to sense it. Not everyone, but a lot of people, I apologize, are saying like, you know what, I ain't going outside because outside is crazy and people don't know how to talk and people are not friendly and this, that, and the fifth. We need to change that. We need to reverse that. Hard and soft conversations need to be had in welcoming spaces with friendly faces that ultimately want to connect with and be connected to people. Even if for 30 minutes a week, we need to be around each other. So I implore budding organizers to come together during this time, not against each other in competition to be the king or queen of the city or our side hustle, but as a community for our own sake in every region, and create spaces for open dialogue, open meeting of the minds consistently for our health, our wealth, our future, our social, personal, and community development. Unity is going to be the foundation. And what we got to understand is we keep romanticizing about how things were in the past, but we got to come together and rebuild them for our future. So number 6, let's talk about focusing on us as a community, right? This is a time where there's going to be a lot of media attention. So what we got to realize is we stopped throwing people away. We started building great Black safe spaces, and we started talking within these spaces. And now we got to remember that collectively we are our single best asset. When we talk about making changes to communities and society and the landscape of our country to our benefit, we're talking about organizing. We need to start making sure we're individually taking care of ourselves and then taking care of and keeping track of our community. Everyone talks about it takes a village to raise a child. Well, guess what? You need to rebuild the village. We need to rebuild our villages. That means taking care of your personal business first, of course, as you always should, but that also means making it our personal business to care more about the collective. That's a big area, a big gap, a big blind spot we have, and social media is not helping us. Social media is supposed to be a means to connect with each other when we are apart, but it's not supposed to replace us being together physically. Caring about our business as a people is how we start to move the collective needle. And I need us to also understand that, honestly, how we romanticize about the past, the past was forcibly interconnected. And so we need to think about how do we become more organically interconnected like chain links and eventually build our fence to keep our children, our parents, our communities safe. Some of these successful individuals in the same rooms together amongst many other people or even living in the same neighborhood is not the same thing as a successful community. A communal collective achieving mutual benefit for all and rising together is a successful community. And you know what's better than 10 billionaires? It's a healthy Black middle class, and we got to come together to achieve that. So let's do number 5. What is number 5, Darvell? Well, number 5 is we need to understand that we should not be thinking that we've arrived already, that the Black community actually is at the best place it can be, and now it's just up to our own individual motivations to move our personal lives forward, to thrive, especially in this era of the second Trump administration, how people are starting to see things and the concerns that were foreshadowed right leading into the election season last year, especially in the South. These type of things are only going to become more prevalent in this environment, which coddles, which emboldens, which otherwise helps to bring about things that we don't want necessarily to see. With that being said, we also need to keep in mind that from a socio-economic standpoint, we haven't arrived either. So just like I told you regarding that old-fashioned, regarding that Jay-Z line from, what's better than one Black millionaire, two? all these supposed black billionaires and multimillionaires, many people are anxious to defend them, but these folks don't do anything for us, neither individually nor as a collective, and they're not representative of the true socioeconomic state of Black America, specifically the representation of American descendants of slavery or freedmen. The socioeconomic position of this group is not reflected by our Black celebrities, despite many of them, coming from our stock, and them giving a few campaign endorsements is not it. That's not what this is about. It's about a much longer and much more hearty involved role, and they're not putting their wealth in jeopardy to benefit the people who co-sign their cultural authenticity. And so with that being said, the data is very clear, and I don't need to pull it for you because I've already done a bunch of videos and there's a ton of research out there. It's shown time and time again, from university research studies down to amazing essays that are here on YouTube or in other places. The socioeconomic position of the Black community is not good. ADOS people, or freedmen specifically, the American Blacks who descend from chattel slavery and trace their lineage back in this country to 1619, have basically been passed up by most all other ethnic, racial, special interest, and minority groups you can conceive in a reasonable, substantial number. Our ancestors built America, and whether you consider the forced enslavement they were subjugated through to be par for the times or not, it set off a series of sustained efforts by both private citizens and the government to continue the oppression, exclusion, and delusion, which led to compounding social, psychological, and economic handicaps, which the results of have led us directly and indirectly into today's fraught state for the Black community, economically, socially, and politically. And just be clear, I am applauding and I am happy for everyone's personal achievement, but your $500,000 house and six-figure job, neither that nor the, huge bunch of ineffective Congressional Black Caucus members or Mecca, Metro Atlanta, are proof of any coordinated arrival of our people. These are not pieces of proof you can submit in any substantial way to say that we've actually achieved something. We have a long way to go yet, folks. And I think that what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. seen for the mountaintop for us, we are only halfway up that mountain. And on a side note, I also want to be clear when I talk about the economics of what we've achieved or what we can get to or what is the right path forward. There are going to be a lot of people who are telling you, but really they're selling you, that all we need to do is start a business and 2 side hustles each. These folks are actually selling you cooked up hot air straight from like Ronald Reagan's kitchen. Like, they're going back to Reaganomics. They're going back to Black economic self-empowerment stuff that was given to us in lieu of actual social justice, in lieu of economic justice that we are well overdue. And so what happened is the government just told us, hey, you know what? Y'all can make some businesses like you seen the white folks doing, and you can get some money too, and you won't have these ghettos and these crimes and these other issues in your community. We built those businesses and had those communities and had all these things, and now we don't. I wonder how we lost them. I wonder what plagued us, whether it been directly, direct offenses against our physical being, or it be indirect over policing and indirect, things being put in our community that shouldn't be there that led to other issues. I wonder about that. Nevertheless, individual entrepreneurship is an admirable pursuit. I am not discouraging entrepreneurship, making your own business, making your own products, doing whatever you want to do. That's a pursuit everyone can try if they wish at some point, but it is not actually what the majority of America did. It is really just our issue that we're fed as a solution. Majority of America had been W-2 and has been workers and have been regular people who've been in the military. And they're not all, and they didn't all run businesses or own a bunch of, stock and stuff. No. They didn't require that to make the middle class back in the day. And that's how they earned their homes. And that's how they passed those homes and those lands down in their family. And they even had the insurance. Some people talk about insurance. All these things were not, remarkable feats. These were regular everyday things. One of many unconfronted issues is this potential wealth that they had that we never seen passed through consecutive generations in the Black community consistently enough. But yet again, all it took was a hardworking W-2 earner who had a family that they earned their income, and they secured physical wealth or physical means that accrued in value, and those things were passed down. So please understand that this is not some type of Herculean effort we're supposed to undertake to try to build business to take up for the losses we've had. We're not supposed to be trying to catch up with an exponential growth in wealth that was allowed by a essentially head start that was given to others while we were being subjected to Jim Crow redlining. The New Deal was being excluded from us, that allowed other people to essentially move ahead and start building wealth. And number 4, we're getting to the end of this list. Don't lump us in with brown people. This is so critical. I think 2024 has shown us very critically what's truly transpiring in American society in regards to where do people really see the black-brown coalition or the minorities of the country, and are these people all the same? Are they aligned? Do they have the same issues? Do they have the same desires and intentions? I love and have love and respect all the wonderful Hispanic, Latin, Asian, Native American, Middle Eastern folks in our country. This is not a shot at them. It has nothing to do with them. I'm just using them as an example to make a very clear point for the Black community. But with that said, we should have at this point heard enough of the phrase Black and brown people in our past 4 years to think we've all been melted down into one Kit Kat bar. Of course, we really haven't. This has been always a distractionary, illusionary phrase to hijack the beauty of Black righteous indignation in this country that actually powered the country's civil rights evolutions, to put other minority groups who recently arrived here or having some challenges in this country based on how they look or where they come from, to put them on roller skates up a hill that we fought over 100 years to just make it up halfway. Then when they get halfway to the top and they're around where we're at, they quietly get assisted even further up the hill by the America that let us sit stuck. And I'm not trying to say that these folks are, doing anything wrong or, trying to, necessarily hurt us. They're just looking out for themselves, just like we should have looked out for ourselves, or we need to continue to look out for ourselves, but as a collective. America has her priorities wrong, however, because America's priorities don't seem to value the justice that is well overdue for our community in multiple ways. There is a great video I made exemplifying the reality of differences between the Black and Hispanic communities using the example of Black banks, which it outlines the craziness that has transpired over the past 20 to 40 years with Black banks in raw numbers. And you can check it out. There'll be a link up in the corner of this video, and I'll also throw the link in the description of this video to find the video I done like 2 years ago that uses Federal Reserve data and go straight to the source in DC, explaining exactly how Black banks are not achieving the same parity as Hispanic or Latino owned banks. It's crazy to think of that. No shade on them, but you got to understand as Black people what we need to be paying attention to. And furthermore, with that being said, with the Black banks, they've also passed us a median wealth. And that's no shade on them. Like, look at these numbers right here, right? Look at these numbers, right? We can look at this here. Let me show you. We pop over here and we look at how wealth, looking at the Pew Research, how wealth and wealth gaps vary by income. And we're just going to look at the upper income households. For the wealth of upper income households is far higher than that of lower and middle income households, of course, right? This shows you that there's big spectrum, big jumps between lower and middle and then upper, right? So keeping that in mind, you scroll down here and you look at it essentially by race, and you see white is just crazy, but Black is like 1,400 to 2,700 on low income. Hispanic starts at 7,900 to 12,000 on lower income. So you see a statistically significantly higher shift. Then go from lower income to middle income and look again. Compare Black to Hispanics, the gap closes to a point of overlap, but their minimum and maximums are higher than ours significantly, right? 50 versus 63 and 74 versus 100. So this is what we're saying. Again, we're not even trying to, paint a bad picture about anyone. I'm just trying to make sure we understand these groups are not the same. And then look here at the upper income, right? Again, Black, it's really tight, 285, 287. Hispanics have a range and they starting at 350. This is no shade. This is just to be clear. Don't think that these folks are the same, okay? This is not, me trying to be what they say, hating or being negative. No, we're just being real. And this shows that the foundational issues are not the same. And additionally, if you look at our political party allegiances right here, We pop over here, and this was from just 2024. Again, this is Pew Research. Majority of Hispanic, Black, and Asian voters continue to favor a Democratic Party, while white voters remain more aligned with the GOP. Okay, fine. You see the white voters, but look at the Hispanics. Hispanics move at about 65, 61% rate of identifying as Democratic, and then 32 to 35 identifying as Republican when we look at the numbers from essentially 2004 all the way to 2023. But look at the black voters. Black voters are way higher at 68, 60, 86 and 83%. And we're basically in the low, we're in the low teens on the Republicans. They're in the 30s on the Republicans. And then Asians are just all over the place. They got wild shift. You see, they go all the way from 58 to 63, and they've been even, lower. Like, I don't even know what that low is. That's probably like, 40s right there. And so they're wild. They're all over the place, Again, these groups are not the same. Obviously, you see they all have different priority sets at any given time. We flatline, everybody else is, doing something else. So again, don't just let someone tell you that this browning of America is really what's going on. The browning is only being perpetuated by policies that we need to maybe keep our eye on a little closer, And so there are reasons for why these things happen and why they're going on. And I don't mean to demean, misname, mispronounce, misidentify anybody. But as you can see in those charts, there's something afoot. And if you go back to my other video on how Blacks and Hispanics move differently, you'll get even more proof. My point is that we're not all the same, and that's okay. We can still love each other. We can still work together on things. We can be allies, but don't try to don't find us trying to lump ourselves in with another group or vice versa. And most importantly, correct any and all media outlets and people who try to lump us together for any sake whatsoever. That is not appropriate. That is not justified. That is not constructive. Okay, make sure that we understand that, and therefore we hold people accountable for it. Number 3, accepting the reality that politics and government are the way forward. Listen, I know some people are going to have a hard time hearing this, but it is not about the government saving anybody. It's not about the government saving you. It's about exercising the proven mechanism which has managed the growth and sustainment of societies across the globe for millennia. Politics is the management of resources for an entire society. Trying to work outside of that system always runs you into a wall eventually. We have to stay in this lane and push blockers out of our way. We can't escape from the requirement of being politically engaged and politically active. One thing that's been tried and true is that every other group you can conceive is lobbying, pressuring, and leveraging their collective focus to obtain political gains. This is because it is important. It is important because nothing can be sustained better than legally codified and enforced set-asides, protections, and political directives which favor your community or business pursuits. And if you don't believe in government, then you're probably better off going to live in a boat in the middle of international water somewhere, because every other nation has a government, and that's what people want. Even if they have to topple it and erect a new one, nobody, not even those in the beautiful African and South American nations you think you want to run away from America to go and live in, manages to maintain social order without rule of law and without government. Even when they're corrupt, there's a government that's corrupt. And that's the point. Everything that's controlled within our lives to a degree will eventually link back to government. The government doesn't control everything, but government sets the stage through the policies and laws we elect politicians to actually put into place to actually manage how we want daily life to move forward. And government's our proxy in that regard, which means that if anyone wants something systemically sustainable, they go to the government and get it done. Why else would big corporations and political PACs donate millions to candidates just to buy favor? But unless, again, you believe in the big steal of 2020, the one thing that we all took home from that, most of us anyway, is that no one can get elected unless they are voted in fairly. That means votes actually count. Therefore, despite the money being thrown at a candidate, if we don't vote for them, they don't get elected. We still have a lot of power in that regard, even when we don't have a lot of money to throw behind candidates. But we must wield it with high strategic precision as a voting bloc focused on ourselves in the country we built, and bring ourselves, or at least most of us, under at least a basic set of shared understandings led by a movement that values politics as the underlying foundation for a better future. No one in our history trying to improve Black life has had more gains than those who did it through the means of diplomatic policy, right? Number 2, Pay attention. We need to pay attention, but don't get distracted. The news outlets, I'm telling you right now, they are on a million. The news outlets are going to be going wild for the next 4 years. I remember when I was one of my places that I was living in when I first moved into it, I got cable TV and I had to upgrade to 2 tiers, had to upgrade 2 tiers high in order to get CNN because I like watching the news. I like hearing what's going on, staying in the know. Then Trump got elected and all CNN did was constantly nearly 20 hours a day. They're just constantly going in talking about what he's doing, what he done did, what he done said. And it was just so much. I stopped watching CNN. I've never paid for cable television since that happened. But they will be going wild for the next 4 years. They will have an endless stream of political turmoil to broadcast, interpret, explain, and manipulate your opinion on. The ultimate field day has arrived again for both sides of the aisle in terms of news. So you will hear and see some horrible decisions being broadcast bright and clearly. And some will be interesting decisions. Some will be terrible decisions, and maybe even a good one or two here and there. You never know. All this stuff's going to blow headlines up like a 5-alarm chili bathroom visit. But we cannot misplace our focus when they try to scream that something's on fire. We have to be very cognizant and diligent at evaluating objectively what's being presented to us and understanding if we need to even pay it any attention beyond being aware that it's going on. Because there's some things we need to speak up against, but there will be many, as bad as they might be, that just do not immediately concern us more than our political preparation for 2028. So with that being said, I'm going to go straight to number one. Number one, the one top thing we need to focus on during the next 4 years under a Trump presidency is we need to prepare for 2028. No questions asked. This is the single most important thing I have to stress before we close out. Most of my people probably were hoping that Don didn't get this job. I get it. I'm not here to tell you that I was jocking for him either. But if you want to pull the tables to the left, you got to do one thing starting today. We got to get to work. This is bigger than us, but absolutely requires us. Even though the turnout in 2024 was like the second largest since like 1901, only behind like Obama's first election. So there were barely any people who really sat out this election cycle that could have changed the outcome. That means you actually have to move hearts and minds between now and November 7th, 2028. It's not just a factor like Obama said of getting Pookie off the couch, which I hated that stuff and we should have lambasted him for saying that. But it's not a factor. It's not a discussion about just getting some more people to show up. It's really now an issue of getting people who showed up to vote differently in 4 years. And to be clear, when it comes to voting, in case someone is on the sidelines saying this in your ear, or if they pop up into the comment section, because I know people still think this, don't let anyone lie to you and don't lie to yourself to believe that not voting for Harris was some type of magical default vote for Trump. That's not how this works. It never worked that way. He was only elected by the sheer number of people who checked off his name on their ballot. That's it. That's the only way he won. Votes for Cornel West did not secretly advantage Trump or anybody else other than Cornel West. And if you don't give your vote to anyone, then no one received your vote and their win has nothing to do with you, or their loss. Neither have anything to do with you unless someone assumed you should have voted a certain way because you look a certain way. So we don't do that anymore. We don't have assumptions. More and more increasingly, people are indicating that they are independent. People are identifying in the annual Gallup polls that they don't identify as Republican or Democrat. They are independent. All votes still now today have to be earned. And when it comes to our community, the Black community in America, the votes should primarily be earned, and we should be holding politicians accountable to present a real Black agenda that's built for us from our demands and not given to us as, a collection of disparately beneficial aspects of other universal and class-based policies. Make sure they're not handing you that. That's all too common that they do that. So with that said, That's what I see for our next 4 years. I thank you for hanging out with me and listening to me just talk about a few of these ideas I have. And whether you're in Detroit, Cincinnati, Nashville, Atlanta, New York, the Bay, St. Louis, Chicago, or even Madison, Wisconsin, I want you to continue to stay tuned. We have a choice to make to be ready starting today for 2028. Thank y'all. Take care. Let's talk again soon.